Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Space Ocean Corp is an emerging pre-revenue space logistics startup headquartered in Brownsville, Texas. Founded in 2021, the company is developing what amounts to the gas station in space infrastructure, providing critical on-orbit refueling and resource transfer services that enable satellites to operate longer, travel farther, and reduce launch costs. The company has engineered the ALV-N, short for Autonomous Logistics Vehicle Next Generation, as a multi-purpose orbital platform capable of servicing customer satellites through proximity operations and resource delivery. The ALV-N serves as both a technology demonstrator and a planned commercial service platform. My guest on this edition of the Journal of Space Commerce podcast is Paul Mamakos, CEO of Space Ocean. And Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tom. Well, thanks for having me here, and looking forward to this conversation.
I am as well. And let's talk about begin at the beginning. What specific problem did you identify when you founded your company in 2021 that made you say, this is what the space economy needs right now?
Yeah, well, there's the space stations are starting to, commercial space stations are starting to be built and developed, and they're slowly being launched out into low Earth orbit, and they're going to need different types of fluids, as well as the push toward Mars. They're going to need different resources, and then also curiosity. That's for me, it was about when I was younger, I used to like to read sci-fi stories and look at videos, and they all showed these, you're on the surface of this moon or planet. And so to enable that type of an actual space mission and exploration. So I care about water and oceans. So that's why the name Space Ocean is the name of the company. So,
you told me when we talked previously that the whole thing about Space Ocean is that there is water out there and we just need to find it, and it's going to be critical for our long-term presence in space.
That's correct. One of the destinations identified in NASA by many different companies is to go to a moon around Saturn called Enceladus. It's one of the top priorities. A lot of people think there's life there, and possibly in some of those oceans, and there's a geyser. So there's really thin ice on the south pole of that moon, and it's shooting water out into orbit around Saturn. So it's one of the hot spots. And there's an ocean there, like a 20-mile deep ocean on that moon.
On-orbit servicing has been talked about for decades. You mentioned just reading about it in science fiction novels when you were a kid. And we all did when we looked at those science fiction novels, and we knew that something like this had to happen. What has changed that makes this right now the time to build your business?
With SpaceX out there and other companies reducing the launch costs, there's much more infrastructure being developed and launched into space. So it's a good time for a company like ours to be able to do some of the things that will need to be done by at least one space company to enable the larger space economy. So,
There are a couple of others that are working on this as well, and fluid transfer is going to be something that is going to be a challenge, I think, in orbit. And of course, there are companies that are working on transferring electricity to solar cells. So it's going to be one of those things that it sounds like there's going to be a lot of competition in that space.
There's a lot of opportunity, just like the Wright brothers launching the first airplane. It's going to take a lot of collaboration. Not one company can do everything, so there's a lot of opportunity. Yeah. So I'm excited about the challenge, and it's good to have competition. So.
Let's talk about the origin story. We touched on that just a moment ago, but give us that origin story of Space Ocean.
Right. I was living in Virginia. I had 5 acres of property. I've always liked growing things, fruit trees and other things like that. I've lived in Virginia over 25 years. And this is, instead of just watching from the sidelines, I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I studied a couple of years of nuclear engineering, and then I got a commercial instrument pilot's license when I was in college at Purdue. So I have a bunch of technical expertise as well as just curiosity from when I was younger. So this brings together the curiosity from my youth and all the sci-fi stuff, as well as the entrepreneurship and the expertise for bringing people together. So it's a great challenge. So I'm not sitting on the sidelines, and I actually get to maybe lead or participate in moving in a certain direction.
I went to Indiana, but I won't hold that against you. Let's talk about the core capabilities of the ALV-N spacecraft. What makes it different from some of the existing spacecraft bus designs?
Well, there's a lot of bus developers out there. So we're a company agnostic as far as whether we build our own bus or whether we pay somebody else, at least in the early stages of satellite design. So it's a multi-purpose resource transfer capability with the N in ALV-N stands for nuclear. So there's a company we partnered with that we released a PR recently, Space Nukes, and they're partnering with us to do the first commercial nuclear satellite or spacecraft is what we're working on.
Nuclear is one of those things that has gotten really a lot of attention when we talk about the ways to power spacecraft. But what you're talking about here is not to provide nuclear power for other spacecraft, but that's what's going to power yours, correct?
Correct. And possibly once our satellite or spacecraft is developed, there's a couple different versions of it. We could sell ours or make it available for other companies as well. Yep.
Why did you design that as a multi-purpose platform, though, versus building kind of a single-purpose refueling tanker? Wouldn't that reduce the cost by having it do just one thing and do it well?
Our journey to Enceladus and some of the other destinations in the solar system where there is an ocean or fluid is going to require landers, long space travel. So there's our own mission and purpose involves many different aspects of space travel. So just for our own purposes, we're going to need a lot of flexibility.
Let's get down into some of the nuts and bolts, Paul. What kind of technical hurdles represented the biggest engineering challenges in the design process? And we want to talk about some of the unique challenges like fluid dynamics and microgravity and precision docking.
We're not going to maybe reveal so much about that, but if you ask some specifics, I'd be happy to address those.
Well, let's talk about then let's talk about fluid dynamics, because obviously it's challenging to push fuel from one spacecraft to another in microgravity. There's no gravity to let the fuel flow. So what's kind of your thinking on addressing that kind of challenge?
On a space station, NASA has a website where they've done many different experiments with water in space and other types of fluids. So there is a history and there's a lot of research that's been done into that. I think SpaceX has a method where when they're coming into the atmosphere with the Starship, they or even to transfer some of the fluid in space, they're looking at igniting some of the engines to push the fuel back toward the to the fuel line. So there's a bunch of different techniques that are being used. Fluid in space in a solid container is it's been that's been solved, but there's much more things as far as capillary action and other stuff like that, which is being developed.
Let's talk about the docking then, because that's going to be one of those things that you've got to make sure that everybody has a docking port that's compatible. Are there enough standards in the industry right now that will make it so that your spacecraft can dock with almost anything? Obviously, it has to be built to be able to be refueled. So where does that whole standardization and docking capability come in?
Right. So a lot of the resupply is currently done through the just a large resupply vehicle docking with humans to be able to go through it. So there are different companies with docking adapters. We have a partnership with Enduralock. They have a certain type of connector, which we're looking to encourage potential customers to install on their satellite or spacecraft. There are some other competitors out there like Orbit Fab that have a smaller nozzle on the fluid transfer port, and it's specific to hydrazine and some other fluids like that. So ours is more toward a broader fluid use and transfer.
So you're going to be a little bit more propellant agnostic, for lack of a better term.
Right, and more sturdy if there are other uses for that connector as well. Yep.
So walk us through what you look at as a possible typical refueling mission from the space ocean perspective. Let's go through kind of the requests, the rendezvous, docking, and up to separation and billing, I guess, because you got to get paid somehow.
Right. A lot of the companies, or even the 4 commercial space stations, are being subsidized by NASA with hundreds of millions of dollars. So currently, the International Space Station subsidizes refueling companies like Northrop Grumman and SpaceX and other companies to dock with the International Space Station and supply fluids. So on top of the regular price per kilogram delivered, there's hundreds of millions of dollars that have been paid out to those companies, and then also yearly payouts to those companies to keep that price possible. Purchase order is going to be required, and we have a purchase order ready, and then a deposit and just a regular way you would do a delivery, and then we can deliver within every 6 months, or we can deliver within a week's time if there's a more emergent need for water or another type of fluid that we're capable of delivering. So.
Is it going to be something where you have an orbital presence and they say, okay, I need to buy fuel, and you move the spacecraft over to where they are? Or is it more of an on-demand situation where they call and say, we need to get this fluid from you, and then you launch one of your spacecraft to go and rendezvous with theirs?
Yeah, we can do both. The lead time to schedule a launch is about 18 months. So we're looking to have several spacecraft in orbit on a continuous basis starting in 2028. And we're going to do our testing before that, 2027 timeframe. And we'll be able to deliver ideally within a week's time if someone needs something crucial, but we're looking to schedule on a scheduled basis.
My guest is Paul Mamakos, CEO of Space Ocean on the Journal of Space Commerce podcast, and we'll get right back to the conversation in just a moment. But first, please take a minute to click subscribe to be sure you don't miss any of our podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube, any of the videos from Xterra Media. And please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Whether you're a space professional, an investor, or an enthusiast, paid subscribers have first access to premium articles and podcasts focused on the new space economy. Just visit www.xterrajsc.com and help keep the Journal of Space Commerce independent as we chronicle, cajole, and, when necessary, critique the commercial space industry. Paul, who's the ideal first customer for Space Ocean's refueling services? Are they large constellation operators, smaller customers, and why? Who are you targeting and why?
We're targeting anybody with a constellation or possibly even a DoD customer. Not looking to reveal too much, but
Sure.
From what I've said already, you could probably deduct who some of those might be.
There are way fewer just one-off satellites in orbit that are being planned right now. It seems like everybody wants to put up, as opposed to putting up one big one, they put up 2 or 3 small ones. Does that affect your business model at all?
Let me think here. In the prior question, also for the longevity and lifespan extension of a satellite, if somebody sends a $1 billion satellite out toward the deeper solar system, Mars, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, it's going to take a while to get there, and they usually expend a large amount of their fuel just to get out there, maybe 80 to 90% of their spacecraft mass, just in fuel to get out there. So when they get out there, they've run out of most of their capability for maneuvering. So not only maneuvering in low Earth orbit or the GEO area or the MEO cislunar area, but also in the deeper solar system. And if you could get refueled out there in those faraway locations, which are several years away, or maybe in the future only several months away, well, that'll extend that $1 billion satellite and enable more capability. So we're looking to source fluid from off Earth. Initially, we'll get our fluid or water from Earth. It could be other things like liquid nitrogen or oxygen. And then also we could source it from off Earth and deliver off Earth. So that'll open up a lot more capability. So that's a future customer as well. Anyone with a larger, more expensive mission further away from Earth. So just repeat that one question there.
Just from a customer, just from the first customers, I mean, are you targeting somebody specifically for kind of an initial, and you don't have to be specific about it, but are you targeting someone for an initial kind of demonstration of what you're going to be able to accomplish?
We have certain customers in mind, and we've reached out to all of them, and so there are discussions underway for sure. Yep.
From that customer's standpoint, what does on-orbit refueling actually cost per kilogram compared to launching additional satellites?
The additional satellites are expensive, and it takes time to schedule that launch, and it's disposable spacecraft or satellite. So the in-space refueling or on-orbit servicing will enable they won't have to worry about that coordination and organization for launching that type of fluid, which will slosh around and is difficult to launch into space. So we remove that difficulty for planning, and we allow them to launch other things, which are maybe more expensive instruments and other things. So,
do you foresee a time, because you mentioned deeper space missions, where and this just kind of occurs to me, that you have something maybe in a cislunar orbit, or you park something out beyond the orbit of the moon, or is it going to be something where a spacecraft launches from Earth and sort of like a military airplane hits a tanker before it takes off for its final destination?
Correct. It could be either one of those for sure. If SpaceX going to Mars, they're going to need a lot of additional support. They're talking about thousands of starships just to launch. You can't just launch one starship to Mars. There's many that are going to be needed to resupply that one starship, as long as they rely on the type of fluid that they're using for propulsion. So,
at what point does refueling become economically advantageous for different mission types?
Okay, there's a cost to take it with you, or there's a make or take type thing. So you could make it when you get there if you have the right equipment, or you could just take it with you. You could launch it from Earth, or so there's a weight type for that, either to recycle the fluid or to make whatever propellant you need out there. So if you were to land on Mars, there are certain things that will take time, and if you have it, if you need it when you get there and you can't make it within a certain time frame, there's going to be problems. So you're going to have to take it in that situation.
You're targeting a demonstration mission in 2027 and the launch of commercial service maybe in late 2027 or early 2028. Do you have any commitments on paper yet, or are you taking kind of a build it and they will come approach?
We're in negotiations. Not going to reveal too much about that, but we are doing press releases as the other customer approves of them. So we have released certain news releases. So.
You talked about your letter of intent with Space Nuclear Power Corp to integrate nuclear reactors onto that ALV-N platform. What changed in your business roadmap that prompted that change?
Okay. We've always needed nuclear as a fuel because in the dark areas of the moon, you can't use solar power. And as you get beyond Mars with the asteroid belt, there's only about 1 or 2% of the sun energy gets out there. So our Enceladus mission is going to require more than just a RTG with a small amount of power, and more than you can just take in batteries or solar panels. You can't operate with solar panels out beyond the Mars area, pretty much.
What then are maybe some of the technical and commercial requirements for this to move from that LOI to an actual deployment, and when might customers see nuclear-powered space ocean vehicles in operation?
There are some other types of fuels and propellants being developed. It's said there's over 50 types of propellants available. So with the fluid is not the only type of propulsion which is currently existing, but thorium is another type of energy which is being developed, and there are other types as well. But we know nuclear is a proven type of energy, and it's been developed for many decades, so it's ready to go. So we're excited about the partnerships.
We've talked a little bit about some of the competitors in your space. How do you differentiate from some of the larger ones like Northrop Grumman and Axiom Space that are also looking at this on-orbit refueling situation? And is consolidation in this market inevitable in your estimation?
Consolidation is a way for growth. So we ourselves look at mergers and acquisitions. If there's a company out there which is cash flow positive, so we're excited about identifying some of those potential targets or growth opportunities.
But then what's the big difference between yourself and, like, say, an Axiom Space, or I think D-Orbit is also working on this kind of a situation?
Yeah, the people which make up our company is kind of what's special. My own history is it's focused in a certain way. It's been said that if Elon Musk wasn't part of SpaceX, it probably wouldn't get to Mars. So in the same way, I bring a certain mix to the table, which is pretty unique. And so the people, we got great people at Space Ocean.
Let's go back to the money piece of it just for a moment, because you're raising capital under Regulation D with a $10 million target. Break down how you're deploying that capital between satellite development, first launch, ground infrastructure, and operations.
Initially we were looking at a lower amount than we're currently at. We're now looking at between 15 million and 70 million, just because the satellite, for instance, a prototype, we're looking at two prototypes. Before we launch or build a large satellite, we're going to want to prototype it and test it and shake test it and vacuum test it. So anything in space, even a small part, is usually thousands of dollars or even up to $35,000 or more dollars. So the prototypes can be about $5-6 million. So if we just did two prototypes, that's $10 million right there. So we are looking at potentially a smaller capability just to have something in space and say we've launched something, and that's a couple $100,000. But our initial launch is going to be between 15 million and $70 million.
Is that when the investors start really taking you seriously? Is when you put something in space and say, "Look, we are really going to do this"?
Yeah, we expect our net present, our share value to double or triple once we get that first demonstration in orbit. So we're looking to launch 2 satellites for that $70 million price tag. But if we did something smaller, it would still be at least 2 satellites, maybe 5 or 10. So satellites.
If Space Ocean is successful and in-space refueling becomes routine industry infrastructure, how do you think that reshapes the entire space commerce value chain?
Right. So a lot of the money has been coming from the defense sector, and also just for the science and NASA side of it. We've done many years of testing, and now we're ready to actually have a space economy, have industrialization of space. And I'm not sure that's always been desired, but now we have the opportunity to actually take some of that forward. The internet's come out. We have digital finance, DeFi. So we're progressing in a lot of different ways, and space is kind of the next frontier. In addition to the meditation is another direction that's going inward, but space is going outward, exploring and seeing what's out there. It's an opportunity also for survival. Our memory, our cultural history is not that long. So we don't know what's happened over the hundreds of years, even thousands of years going back. So space is an opportunity just for survival, straight out survival, and also excitement and exploration. So those are some of my inspirations.
When you look at the overall space economy, and let's kind of make this a projection of maybe 10 years into the future, where do you see space commerce and the new space industry? At that point, it'll be a little bit more mature, but where do you see the new space economy in 10 to 15 years?
One of the interesting areas where there is not much has been done for space commerce and all that is the ownership. If you were to land on an asteroid or something, you can't claim it as yours. You can extract the resources. Which governments own that resource or that plot of land is still in debate. So the different space companies in the U.S. are operating under U.S. law. When these different space companies are creating their legal paperwork, some of them incorporate UN and other outer space treaty type stuff. At Space Ocean, we're just relying on U.S. law and not incorporating the other outer space treaty type stuff. So that's an interesting area. The futures market, we have the COMEX and the other type of trading of commodities on the Earth, and that's all going to move out into space as well. So you could land on an asteroid and maybe extract some of the metals or even some of the fluids or some of the ice or whatever. And I believe you can claim ownership of that. That law, that legality still needs to be ironed out, but we're going to be maybe a first mover in that area. We have some attorneys on our team, and it's an exciting space.
Who's on your team? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As these companies enable the commodities off Earth, it's not going to have to be launched. So the gravity in some of these areas, whether asteroids or even the moon's about 1/3 of Earth's gravity. Some of these moons like Enceladus, it's 1% of Earth's gravity. So to launch off of those locations is much cheaper than launching from Earth. And it's much faster. So if you can get those resources from off the Earth, then it's advantageous. And that'll enable the space economy as different companies provide those resources. So.
Yeah, the big challenge is getting there and digging the resources out of the ground and putting them aboard something and then getting them back. I suppose that's kind of the crux of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's some fear about whether there's some bacteria or some type of virus or any other type of thing on those resources. So we're not looking to bring things back to Earth. We're looking to just keep it out in space. And as those things get figured out, maybe they'll come back to Earth, or maybe certain samples will come back to Earth. We're not looking to bring anything back to Earth, just to stay out in space and be going outward.
So then does your spacecraft or does it maybe a future planned spacecraft from Space Ocean have some kind of a refinery component built into it so you can get those resources and get them into a form that's usable for other spacecraft?
That's correct. We have developed some of that, and we're continuing to work with other partners as well who have worked on that for many, many years.
It's going to be an exciting time, and it's amazing sometimes what we're thinking about and what we know is possible. It's just getting around all the obstacles to get to it.
That's correct.
Paul, we're just about out of time, but I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Paul Mamakos is the CEO of Space Ocean. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Journal of Space Commerce podcast, a production of Xterra Media. The executive producers are Mike Turner and Tom Patton, with production assistance from Debbie Turner. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and many other popular podcasting platforms. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of our podcasts or any of our other videos. You can get daily updates on space commerce by subscribing to the Journal of Space Commerce on Substack at www.xterrajsc.com. You can connect with us on LinkedIn and follow us on X at XterraJSC. And please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Whether you're a space professional, an investor, or an enthusiast, paid subscribers have first access to premium articles and podcasts focused on the new space economy. Just visit xterrajsc.com and help keep the Journal of Space Commerce independent as we chronicle, cajole, and, when necessary, critique the commercial space industry. Until next time, I'm Tom Patton. Thanks for joining us.
I wanna go faster, faster. Hands in the air, we're gonna crash. Searching for the answers. My Galileo, the through is looking glass. Thirst for reason. Our dreamer's eyes we gaze into a sense of purpose, know my view. Like finding water on the moon.